Fabian says, hey guys, do you know 5 underrated and unknown niches with high ticket in 2024? Charlie says, anyone working with realtors, are you still able to get them decent results despite this tough market time? Ashley says, would anybody be willing to share their qualification questions used to vet potential clients in an automation? What's up, everybody? Shenanigans off camera. We are back. It is another round of Q&A. I feel like it's been forever. For those of you guys who watch these all super regularly, I feel like, between travel and just I was locked out of my Facebook account last week. From travel, from logging into too many locations, they're like, we think something's up, so we're going to make you do a bunch of bullshit verification, and of course, you got to turn your head and do this shit, and they weren't happy with whatever video I would send, and they would wait 2-3 days to tell me that, so that's the joy of that. Anyway, excited to be back in the saddle. Just before we get rocking and rolling, we get to your awesome questions and the cool agencies you guys are building. 3 quick announcements. Number 1, we are having a super awesome mastermind party at my house in Mexico. I was a dumbass and announced that we were going to do it March 29th to 31st, but I realized that's Easter weekend, so that's why I'm a dumbass. So we're going to do it the weekend before, which I believe is, 22nd to the 24th. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. I will send you some details. I see my man Paul is here. Secondly, I wanted to let you guys know I am furiously behind the scenes working on book 2 here, and I want to show you guys how we're building $500 to $5,000 a month passive automated recurring income streams. And the beautiful part about this is you don't need any clients. That's my favorite part of this. There's no meetings, there's no reports, there's no one to deliver. In fact, there's actually 0 to deliver. You set it up, it runs in the background. My oldest one of these, just so you guys know, is still paying me 7 years later. So I did some shit. I didn't understand what I did 7 years ago, but I did do it. And now that I understand it a lot better, I'm kind of doing it intentionally. And I'll tell you, nothing will make your life easier knowing that you have a bunch of recurring revenue that you don't have to do shit for far into the future, especially for those of you guys who are providers. But nonetheless, I know you guys got bills to pay. I know you got shit to worry about. So like just having that shit run in the background is A-okay in your life. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how we do that. And it's a different thinking. It's what most people are trying to do is sell their stuff. And I'm trying to use that same skill set to acquire stuff. And I'll show you guys in the book what I'm specifically using to acquire. It's just stupid, simple offers. And then the third announcement, like the Wolfpack dude, like for real, is just getting cooler. I've been like, my big goal for the last 2-3 years has been simplifying it and removing pieces so that like anybody can fucking do it, essentially. Like it's like, I shouldn't say anybody, because not everybody and anybody is built for what we do, but to make it super easy for you guys to implement so that you can do a lot of the big principles: one-to-many prospecting, closing people through video, growing your agency without all the chase that everybody else does. Like I usually just make a one little 5-minute to an hour presentation. People come to me. If they're interested, I send them a video, and they self-select and decide who's ready. And it's a way easier model than what everybody else does of like, hey, message 10,000 people and have a million conversations going and try and get them on the phone even though they don't know who the fuck you are and why they'd want to buy from you. So I think it's a lot easier model for those of you guys who are ready to kind of get off that hamster wheel. Look us up. For most of you guys, you can start with $1,000 plus. For most of you guys, like to pay for the Wolfpack, you need one fucking client. Like if you got $1,000 to $10,000 a month thing, like we'll help you get there with one client. Just think about that, and it'll ROI for the rest of your life, not just in the short term. So for those of you guys who are interested, I put the details below. For those of you guys who are watching this on YouTube, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com, and then there is a link for the Wolfpack on the menu there. Anyways, let's get rock and roll. That's enough announcements, but it has been a while. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings you a weekly Q&A. Blowing this shit up. Abdul says, should I use Loom strategy if English is my second language? I'll give you a cheat code on this, Abdul. If English is your second language and you don't feel comfortable presenting, there are 2 options you can still use to close peeps on video or to close peeps without talking to them. Number 1 is you hire like a voiceover person to like make the video for you, and you just give them the script. That way you can have time to like practice it and get it right. I've found people on Fiverr to do that shit for real for like 5, 10, 15 US dollars. Second option is it actually, the same process, the same format actually works in a written form in a Google document. You guys will notice sometimes when I offer stuff to the community here, I do it in a Google document. And so like it's super easy to close with the same strategy. So like, you know, they're interchangeable. I just like doing video because it's easier for me to talk and run my big mouth. But if it's not for you, you can actually do it in a Google document. You'll notice all of our courses, they're all Google documents, but I'm following that same Loom format where there's a demonstration to show you the thing you're going to get. Then I call out who it's for. Then I tell you how it works. And then I, you know, make you an irresistible offer. That's the format. Like, and this comes out of, just so you guys who've never done this, this comes out of the fact that I've done at least 1,000 sales calls, probably closer to 2,000, and you just hit the same milestones. People just want to know, like, okay, what is this thing, kind of thing, and then they want to know, okay, if it's interesting enough, they'll say, will it work for me? And then they want to know, how does it work? And then they want to know, how much is it? And if you just answer those questions preemptively, you can sell without the need for all the things that most people are doing. So let's get into the next question. We got Bob here who says, Frankie Fihn talks a lot about getting paid more for solving bigger problems. So I'm working on doing just that. A big problem in my niche is bankruptcy attorneys, is that attorneys suck at converting prospects into retainers. And even if they don't suck at this, the good attorneys don't have enough time to do the intro sales calls. I've been personally helping a few of my attorneys with this by taking over their sales calls. This obviously doesn't scale beyond me, but the good news is that I have evolved a script that worked reliably to convert prospects into retainers. I tried to hire a US-based closer to use this script, but he ended up having a substance abuse problem. He was a nightmare to work with. To be fair, I should have expected that for $15 an hour in the US. I'd like to try hiring out in Latin America for several reasons. Firstly, if this works, my clients would love a low-cost way of taking those calls. Secondly, if I can offer high relative ways, then perhaps I could attract high-quality people who would be a great pleasure to work with. That would be fantastic. And third, the time zone overlap would be great. Can anybody point me to resources for hiring Latin American-based English-speaking to do phone calls on inbound leads? I know that Frankie has success hiring expats in Mexico. Is that still a good route to go? Here are some of the questions that I'm currently working on. Should I use a placement service when you pay like $3K to hire somebody? Is there a way to mitigate the threat of identity theft while using non-employees to help collect documents? 3, is there a good country to focus on for hiring people with good accents? It doesn't have to be perfect, but reasonably understandable to Americans. 4, what's a good amount to pay people? I'm actually willing to pay a lot, so I'm not looking to penny pinch. By the way, I'm not asking for answers to these questions, although I'd certainly appreciate answers. I'm just explaining the types of questions I'm exploring. If you have experience doing this stuff, I would love to hear from you. My man, Bob. So you are getting into the game of hiring, and that is a fun little quagmire in and of itself. And I'll tell you, one of the things that helped me with hiring is to understand that the same principles of hiring that you use to generate leads for a client are the same, right? Like, you have to have a sexy ad that makes people want to apply. When they apply, you have to respond to those leads quickly. You have to screen for the right kind of leads. You have to then like bring them to you. So like all of those principles are all the same. So I'll tell you just a couple of thoughts that I had reading this. Firstly, as I mentioned, I actually don't hire Latin American people. All my people are in the Philippines, and you can get some really good English-speaking people there as well who will work in American hours, which is the middle of the night for them, but a lot of them like it because that's when the internet is best where they're at. But having said that, it's totally cool to hire domestic people or people in the same time zone, Latin America, and we know a lot of people doing well with that. Remote Co. They've rebranded to something else, but I put a link for the on your original post. That was from Qasim Aslam. He hires a lot of Latin American people. So anyways, so first thing I wanted to say, this is something that will apply to all of you guys, not just Bob asking the question, but I call this the goal line running back phenomenon. Is most people focus on generating new leads for clients, which are like, if you imagine American football field, those are the leads that are 99 yards away and have to go all the way up the field and try and convert people from 99 yards. And almost always they have unconverted stuff that's way closer to the goal line. So in Bob's case, he mentioned they generate all these phone calls and they suck at them. Is somebody who like actually already clicked an ad, read the website, picked up the phone and called, is qualified, and then is inquiring about using those services, are they closer to the goal line or farther? Obviously, they're a lot closer. They're probably within 5 yards, right? So you can make a lot of money just being the goal line running back, helping people convert those. Now, I've actually consulted, Bob, this may be very useful to you. I've consulted with a few bankruptcy lawyers. And actually, the first time I got brought in, a friend of mine, Gary, was running Google ads for them. And he was in a pissing match with the client. And the client said, hey, they're all bad leads. And he said, you suck at answering the phone. And then they said, can we bring in an independent consultant? That was me, to see if, what's going on. And I listened to the same phone call like 20, 30 times in a row. Every single person who called for bankruptcy asked the same question. They said, how much is it? And the person on the phone gave the lawyerly answer. They said, it depends. Would you like to schedule a consultation? The problem is if you're going bankrupt and you're running out of money and you got all these bills and all this stress, like the amount of money that thing is matters. So we coached them on coming up with this script. It was very, very simple. It said your average typical bankruptcy is between $1,200 and $1,500. That was their numbers. Your numbers may be different. And said it depends a little bit on your situation and what what kind of stuff you own. Also, we work with your creditors to actually reduce your payments, and we take payment plans. So the net effect is if you work with us, your payments will be lower than they are right now. Would you be interested in scheduling a consultation? So feel free to borrow that, because everybody calling up for bankruptcy is asking the same question, how much it is. Give them the typical price. Let them know that you're going to work with their creditors and eliminate a lot of those annoying phone calls, and that you will lower their bills, not increase them, and you'll have closing up the yin-yang. And it'd be super easy to scale. Now, as far as the hiring, this is the one thing that has changed our hiring process dramatically. I don't do resumes. I do not do interviews. In fact, our hiring process is also phoneless, and like our Loom strategy, I don't talk to people to hire them. And it is very, 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 very simple. Trial assignments, paid trial assignments. So for $5 or $10, I hand over. And the thing that has worked the best is like give them exactly what the fuck you are doing. So for example, we have a video editor. So the trial assignment is edit one of my videos. We have a person who posts all our content across social media. So we gave them a couple of things and said, go post them. And we left some of those details blank to see how they fill them in. And with trial assignments, by the way, paid trial assignments, I will often give them to 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes even as many as 100 people simultaneously. And I look for the ones who do it the best, the fastest, communicate the best, because chances are if they can do a trial assignment of the actual thing they're going to be doing, then they're going to work out really well. So you expressed concerns that you want clear English. So I might say, with your application, send me a voice recording of your voice, right? Like if I want to hear that they don't have a thick accent and they don't, sound funny, like I want to hear that even before I talk, right? Because if that's a disqualifier for me, then I might as well know that before I even give them a trial assignment. Things like that, right? Like you want to screen for those things as fast as possible. And then I might give them an actual example phone call and say record your answer to these questions, and I want to hear what you would say using our script. But the as close as you can make it to the real thing. And what you'll find, if you give 20 paid trial assignments away, 10 of them, by the way, won't even do it. But you'll end up with typically 2 or 3 really good ones. Sometimes you only get 1. Sometimes you get as many as 5. But 1 to 5 is the typical range. And then often I'll give them a second paid trial assignment if I'm not sure. And then usually you'll know which one is going to be the best for you. And you've battle tested them on the actual fucking thing they're going to do, which generally works out well. I'm not saying I bat 1,000 in hiring. Nobody does. But man, I have way more success. I'm 70, 80% with trial assignments and testing people on the thing they're going to actually do. And usually the 20, 30%, well, when it doesn't work out, it's just like a reliability issue. Like sometimes like people do good work, but like we had a person we hired a couple months back. She did all the trial assignments really well, but then there was always an excuse like I got to take my kids, so I can't come into work today, can't come into work this day, can't come into work that day. Even though she knew how to do the work, like she didn't show up to do it. But for the most part, like we have very, very high batting averages, and it's just testing people on the thing they're going to do. And Perry Marshall, by the way, calls this the audition. And he makes the point, like, if you went to play with a new band, it would be ridiculous to say, well, give me your resume and give me 5 references of the last bands you played with, and we're going to do an interview. Like, that would be stupid. Like, the best thing you could do is, like, get your guitars and instruments out and play a song together, and in 5 minutes, you'll know whether or not you guys are going to be a good fit to make music together. So that has, like, dramatically changed our hiring process. And I'm a big fan of it. I learned it from John Jonas, by the way, the owner of OnlineJobs.ph. His free stuff taught me most of the stuff I know about hiring. And just try it, man. You'll thank me later. Anonymous says, I'm new to the group and, in fact, new to agency and social media marketing as a career. I've worked in the music industry for 35 years in various capacities, including marketing. But that business is on its knees and has been for 2 decades, thanks to Spotify, etc., for everyone except a tiny minority. With that much being said, should I still specialize in social media marketing in the music industry, branch out to creators in general, such as authors, course creators, or even OnlyFans, or industry niche is important? I should find an industry that has more money. I'd concentrate on Facebook ads and email marketing funnels. I'm going to give you the lawyer answer, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. The lawyer answer to every question. Ask a lawyer any question. The answer is, it depends. Okay, so here's what it depends on, okay? What you want to do. This is your fucking business, and you can build it any way you want. And if you're going to be successful at this, there's a lot of different ways. I always say that, this is just a metaphor, but it makes a point. There's 1,000 ways to be successful and 1,000,000 ways to fail, but nonetheless, there are 1,000 ways to be successful. So I would focus on, if you really like music, be in music, okay? And I'll tell you, I think the opportunity in music, I mentioned this to somebody else, but I watched a reality show back in the day, and it had Gene Simmons from Kiss. I don't know if you guys know the band Kiss. They wear like white face paint, and they sing, I want to rock and roll all night. Like, that's their hit song they're known for. And they have mega super duper, like ultra mega fans that like follow them around and buy all their shit. And interestingly enough, Kiss has like a lot of stupid branded shit. They have cups, they have mugs, they have posters, they have shirts, they have action figures, and on and on and on, and things like these. But the reason I mention this is their super fans buy all their stuff. Even if only 1 out of 100 people, I guess I'm holding up 10, but imagine this is 100, 10 times 10. 1 out of 100 people is one of their super fans and buys all their shit. They will make enough money off of that super fan to then be able to do what they want to do. And the reason I say this is what most people in the music career actually struggle with is not promoting their music at the front end, is they don't have a sophisticated enough back end to be able to make money to promote the shit in the first place. Because if you can just run paid ads because your back end is in place, like, you will grow your music thing. As long as you can advertise and show your music, like, you're going to be discovered. We discovered this actually kind of back in the day. I was helping a client who was putting together some music, my oldest client who I just went to visit, brew and drink some ayahuasca. That was a pretty wild adventure. But when they're putting together the music, we found out if you want to get played on a nationwide radio station, the average was $75,000. So if you don't have a back end in place to recoup that 75, if you're just hoping people will like it and buy your CDs, I know people don't have CDs anymore, people buy digital music and shit like that, but if you're hoping like to sell CDs, you don't have enough of a back end to recoup it. So you need the KISS model. So if I was going to help people in the music industry, I would take people who have good music and good everything else, but don't have a back end, help them build it. There's so many tools out there today. Like, I have a Redbubble store, for those of you guys who don't know, and you can buy stupid shit with my face on it, right? It was really easy to make. I just upload images. You can buy pillows and phone covers and t-shirts and all that kind of shit. And it was super easy to make, but that's an example of having like a real back end. And maybe it's like a spend exclusive time with the band on a retreat, intimate concert. But this is what most businesses in general struggle with, is they make one sale and then they go looking for the next person, and they make one sale and they go looking for the next person, instead of going, what else could we do for this one person who just bought something? Because that person is easier to sell to, faster, will likely spend more money with you, and the more you can get those same people to spend money consistently with you over time because they love your shit and you're adding value to their world, that's what real businesses are based on over like 30, 40 years. So if you like music, that's what I would do. If you just want to do social media and want to do something easy, then it would make sense to pick a different niche. And believe it or not, if I had to pick out of the niches you mentioned of authors, course creators, or OnlyFans, I would pick the OnlyFans. Like, go after the hot naked girl market, because there is a market for that, and there's a lot of dumb dudes on the internet with their penis out as they're, scrolling whatever social media site and sell them some shit, because I think you could really build a strong business that way. But having said that, it depends on what you want to do. A lot of times we have this limiting thought and belief, and we think about, and I'm guilty of this when I first started, like a lot of shit, so I'm not like throwing stones at anybody, but I thought about like, I wonder what could make money. And so you start from this small kind of contracted place of like thinking like, how could you make a few side hustle blocks? I see people who start like Etsy stores. Like I have a friend who has an Etsy store selling candles. Now, the world does not need more fucking scented candles, in my humble opinion. And she also makes them herself. Really cool chick. But she asked me like, basically, how can you scale this to the moon? And the truth is you can't, because you're already selling something that's oversaturated, and the delivery time is just way too high. Like, there's too much time and energy actually fucking making candles to make any real money off of it, because every time you sell a candle, you got to spend fucking 30 minutes making it. So the point being is that started with a small little, I wonder how I could make a little side hustle money, and for her the answer was candles, and then it becomes this limiting business because she's thinking small. And so if you start with like, who am I and what do I want to do, and who are the people I want to help, and you start with a big concept and then build off of that, you can build something way cooler. And I see our man Cole rocking the Kiss Army. So I hope that helps kind of clear the mud a little bit. But if you love music, man, like, help these people build back ends. Like, there's so much opportunity there, it's unreal. Man, Basil says, for those who are already crushing it with back-end deals, conventional wisdom and experience states if a business owner doesn't contact newly generated leads within 5 to 15 minutes, then that lead is highly unlikely to ever respond back and is basically dead. From what I understand, in a back-end database reactivation, we are only contacting actual previous customers who have bought or hired their service before. But is there anything we can do with the leads generated in the past but never got any replies from? Do you segment your campaigns to differentiate those kind of leads? Firstly, Basil, absolutely, there's a fuck ton, a metric fuck ton you can do with those leads. So a couple things to understand is, like, remember I used the American football field analogy, that when you take a cold stranger off the internet and you drive them up the field, that's what most businesses believe they need, is bring the ball 100 yards up the field and punch it into the goal line. But almost always there's opportunities that have been missed that are 5 yards from the goal line, 2 yards, 1 yard. And obviously you mentioned their existing customers, that's like an inch from the goal line, right? Like, that's as close as it gets. But having said that, what you're describing is maybe like 5 to 10 yards from the end zone, what I would call the almost bots. And I used to see this a lot in legal, where people would like call a law firm and then nobody answers, and then the law firm calls them back 10 minutes later and they don't pick up because they don't recognize the number, and that was it. They would only try it one time and then give up. They wouldn't call like and the top law firms made sure to do it at least 6 times, because they know, like, you got to see the number, go, oh, that's right, that's the law firm, they're supposed to be calling me back, kind of thing. So I'll give you 2 examples of people who made a lot of money selling to the almost bots using the model you just described. One of those, I did an interview, it's on YouTube, Mark Diodati, and Mark was doing Facebook ads in HVAC, and he was doing it, why? Because every business owner says, we need more new business, and he was struggling to sell it because there's so much competition, and there's a lot of people selling the same thing to the same people. And I asked him, like, what did you do in your like previously, and he said, I actually worked in HVAC. And I said, oh really? And what did you do? And he said, I was a salesperson. I said, were you any good? He said, I was always the top selling person in the company. And I said, that's interesting. How are you the top selling person in the company? And he said, well, what typically happens is they generate leads on the internet, and those people like visit their website and read the reviews and then call them on the phone, and then they dispatch a salesperson like him, and he would drive to their house, talk with them for an hour, and give them a quote and write it all down in a proposal format and hand it to him. And he said only about 3 in 10 people actually took those proposals, and he did something different than every other salesperson. He said after a week, he would take the 7 out of 10 who didn't buy, what I'm calling the almost bots, like what you're describing, leads that didn't close or weren't reachable, and he takes 7 minutes later, or a week later, takes those 7 out of 10, and he would contact them to say, is there anything we can do to win back your business? And often they say, well, the price was just too much, or I couldn't afford it. And he would say, well, can we do payment plans, or can I talk to my boss and see if I can knock $1,000 off or something like that? And almost always, 1 or 2 of those would come back. And so where everybody else was closing 3 out of 10, Mark was closing 4 or 5 out of 10, and they loved him for it. And I said, why don't you do that as a service for HVAC contractors? The ones, they don't need the ball to go up 100 yards. If 7 out of 10 people don't buy from them, and they're giving 100, 200, 300 fucking quotes a month, they got like 200 almost bots every month. Why don't you create a service to follow up with those people and see if you can do anything to win back their business? And typically, by the way, these are $20,000 deals, and they'll usually pay a salesperson 10%, meaning like you close one, they're happy to pay you $2,000 a month. That's what they're already paying for it, right? So there's one example of what you just described. Second one, I'm not using the name because this person prefers to remain anonymous, but they're working in the personal injury space, and one of the things they did is they started working at what are called mass torts case, which are big class action lawsuits. So like say the Ford Motor Company makes a car that the airbags don't work and a lot of people get hurt. Well, 1,000 people might sue Ford for some of their injuries, and one lawyer will oversee this whole big giant case. So these mass torts law firms had generated, in this person's case, 60,000 leads. And of course, they said the magic line, we need more new leads. And so this person was smart enough to ask the question, what about the 60,000 leads that you have sitting around? They said, well, if you want to give it a try, go for it. Now, like most law firms, they called these people one time, they didn't answer the phone, and they gave up on them and declared them dead and not interested. And he simply, he has what he calls a stay-at-home mom army, a bunch of moms for like $5 or $10 a call will pick up the phone and call these people, and every time they have a conversation, they charge $5 or $10. And he got paid $500 every time he closed one of these, and made $600,000 in a single week doing this, calling back the almost bots. So can you do this? Yes, but just be strategic about who you choose to partner with is all I'm going to say on that. We got a Basil part 2 here. He says, hello everyone, relative newbie here looking for some advice. I was trying to implement the one-to-many technique by going after suppliers for home service contractors in the hopes they could make some introductions and pass along my message to their contractor clients. This was my message to them. Message over 500 of them on their contact page, got 0 replies. Hey, name, I figured out a solid way to get your contractor clients to purchase more supplies from you while also bringing them more pre-sold jobs without needing to lift a finger. You get more of your supplies sold, and they get to reduce their overhead and get back more time while the revenue grows on autopilot. True win-win for both of you. Cool to share more details with you. What can I do to improve my results and get some positive replies and momentum? So for those of you guys who haven't seen it, I wrote a guide called the Ultimate Guide to Cold Outreach. And I'll tell you, one of the things that's important to understand when you're doing outreach, especially if you're doing like this one-to-many stuff, first thing to understand is what I call the frame. And the frame is very simple, right? A lot of people tell me they struggle with cold outreach. And the reason why most people struggle with cold outreach is because if you could boil down their message like to a really basic one sentence of what they're really saying, it's very simple. Buy my shit. Buy my shit, fucker. Buy my shit. Buy my shit. Do you want to buy my shit, fucker? Or do you want to buy my shit? Now, people do not struggle with cold outreach when they are the buyer and they're trying to give somebody else money. So like, for example, like a lot of you guys buy shit on like classified sites, maybe like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or maybe even like in real life, you go to a fucking garage sale or yard sale or whatever. When you're the buyer, you don't struggle with starting up a conversation with somebody. You're like, hey, how much do you want for this thing? Would you take X number? Can you deliver it? Like, you just ask what you want. And the reason is because your internal frame is, you know that you're trying to give somebody money rather than you're trying to get them to pay you. So this is important because if you want to be good at outreach to strangers, the more you can frame what you're doing, even to yourself, and your messaging as, I'm trying to give you something. Now, I didn't think your message was all that bad in there, but if you're reaching out to suppliers, you have to be giving them something. And usually if I'm prospecting one-to-many, what I'm doing is I'm giving them a free training or a free video, something that shows their people how to do something. So in the case of them, it's like, hey, a lot of your contractors said they suck at blah, blah, blah. I would like to give them a free training to do blah, blah, blah. Would you be open to that, right? Because, and it'll be all value and no pitch, right? Like, it has to make them look good to their people. Like, even though your message, like, I don't think was bad, it sounds like, buy my shit, fucker, to me, rather than like, I'm trying to give you something that would be useful to your audience. And I'll tell you, when I'm going after big one-to-many deals, one thing that has made my life easier is I don't, especially like when you realize like there are big industry players in different industries. So sometimes they have audiences of like hundreds of thousands of people that all like, know, and trust them. So rather than like trying to send them a message to get them to do something, I will just do something for them. Alex Hormozi describes this like, say you know how to build tables and decks, and you're good with like woodworking. Don't message them and say, hey, would you be interested in my woodworking? I'd love to give it to you for free. Just build them a fucking desk and send it to them, right? So we do this digitally. So for us, it could be like landing pages or websites or funnels or help them create an offer or write an email, but just fucking do it for them and send them that as like, hey, I made you this to do that. And the reason I made you this is because I think it would be really useful if we did a free training for your people to help them do blank, and I'd like to just give them value, and I know some of them will want to hire me after. That's my incentive, just so you know. Would you be open to that? You'd be amazed at how often that'll work. So I hope that's helpful in your one-to-many prospecting. But it's one-to-many prospecting is fundamentally different than one-to-one because you have to do more upfront shit for those people, but in doing so, it'll open the doors to like many, many people all at once. Fabian says, hey guys, do you know 5 underrated and unknown niches with high ticket in 2024? Okay, this is a really important question because I get this asked in 100 different forms. And the question implies that picking a niche or niche, as the real word is, as my French say, for you French people, I just nailed your laugh 10 out of 10 on Jean-Luc Pierre. Anyways. Enough with the offensive humor. The question implies that picking a niche is about finding some secret source of untapped money. And I'm here to put the axe through that. I am not saying those things don't exist. I have friends who are doing like, in this space, who are doing like electric cars way before it's become like competitive. I have people doing like certain crypto projects that are like way ahead of the curve of what's possible. And those niches are wide open. There's no competition. As mentioned, a couple of people are doing OnlyFans agencies. Like that's all, you want to help the Instagram girl shake her ass and sell it for money. That's untapped niches. But I'm here to tell you, it is not about finding some super secret untapped niche. It is about finding a problem within the niche that nobody else is solving. A lot of times people think, oh, that niche is too saturated. And I'm here to tell you that problems in business are fucking endless, and there is always some problem that needs solved. I'll give you an example of this. Agencies go through this. When they first start out, all you're trying to do is get clients. Like, you don't really have much of a business without any clients. And then you get a few clients, and immediately your problem does not go to zero. Your problem switches to delivery. And if you do that long enough and you get good at selling and delivering, suddenly you will have a new problem called hiring. And hiring presents all its own challenges. And if you get good at that, you will eventually be left with a new problem called management. Managing large numbers of people to get them all on the same page to do what the fuck you want them to do. And then if you keep going, you'll get this big corporate-y structure where the quality of your whole brand will slip and you will struggle to do it at scale and to make people give a fuck like when it was a small little intimate business. And if you want to go past that, you can go to like franchising or expanding into multiple niches. And so there's always a new problem after the next one. What we want to do is have better problems. So the goal of this is you can go into any saturated niche. Where people struggle is they sell the same Me Too service in the same goddamn way as everyone else and then don't understand why it's hard. But I'll give you an example of this. One of the most competitive spaces in the fucking world is the personal injury lawyer one. It has the most expensive clicks on Google, last I checked. They have one keyword. It's $1,000 a click. Best mesothelioma lawyer. I think if you click it, Google sends you a hat or a button, but they ring up the lawyer $1,000 for a click, not a sale, not a conversion, just a fucking click. Now, people have told me, oh, personal injury lawyers are too competitive. Now, if you're talking about just running the same kind of generic, hey, we'll generate leads for you off of Facebook or off of Google as everybody else, yeah, it's probably overly competitive. Even then, it can still work, by the way. But there's a company in the personal injury space called Alert Communications, and this is all they do. Most lawyers can answer their phone Monday to Friday from 9 till 5 o'clock, but at 5:01 till the next morning and Saturday and Sunday, they still get phone calls. And sometimes people call them at 3 in the morning, and they don't know how to convert those leads. So Alert Communications is a team of virtual assistants. They're an agency, and their only job is very simple, is they answer the phone after hours. They're not great at it. They're not shit at it. They wouldn't exist if they were shit. They're very mediocre. This is all they do, is they take down the person's contact info, and they say, okay, the lawyer is not available until morning, but he'll call you back, or she'll call you back in the morning, and it'll come from this number. And that's it. And Alert Communications is like probably a $200 or $300 million per year company, and all they do is answer phones after hours. Why? Because that was an unmet problem. Right? So if you have your eyes tuned to unmet needs and unmet problems, the opportunities are endless. So more than likely, for most of you guys, you're not finding some super secret, untapped niche that nobody's fucking heard of. You're going into a plain Jane, boring-ass competitive niche, but you're finding some problem within the niche that nobody else has yet addressed because there are new problems. Like, for example, just one more example. There's a company, all they do in the legal space is they help lawyers buy TV ads for cheaper than they could do it on their own. They're media buyers, and they used to work in TV, and they get contracts for like $100,000 a month, and it's still worth it because they save people money, and they're the only ones fucking doing it, right? They're meeting an unmet need. So I like what Hetty says. Hey, Frankie, love your philosophy. Anytime you want to kiss my ass, guys, you're welcome to. It does have a Canadian flag tattoo on it. True story. That's a story for another day. This will probably be a little bit longer of a Q&A just based on the fact that I missed a couple of weeks. But Charlie says, anyone working with realtors, are you still able to get them decent results despite this tough market time? Charlie, here's the deal. Okay, if you ask the question, is anybody succeeding despite the conditions? This is true in every market, not just real estate agents. You will find a smaller group of 10 to 20% who are succeeding and succeeding very well, and you will find a group of 80% that are struggling on various points of the spectrum. I'll tell you one thing. I've helped a few people in the real estate agent space, and I'll tell you, if you just take these two principles, you will make your life easier. The first is called client selection. 60% of success in this agency business is just picking the right fucking people to work with in the first place. And I wish somebody told me this early on, but I took a lot of arrows to the chest figuring this out. And that is 80% of the people in any niche are not worth your time. That does not mean they are bad people or anything like that, but they don't make for good partners in business for a lot of reasons. Too small, lack systems, don't have money to spend, on and on and on. And so what I've learned is these two criteria will make your life so much easier, is find people who are spending money today and find people who have teams in place, because they represent, I always say, trust behavior, not words, and they represent two behaviors. Behavior number one is that they can and are willing to spend money. How do I know they can and are willing? Because they're doing it. And two, how do I know that they can pay people to solve problems? Because they're doing it, right? So I'm looking for those two behaviors: willing to spend money, willing to pay people to make problems go away. And in real estate agents, because it is a low bar to get into, just like online coaches, like it's very easy to call yourself an online coach. You put up a fucking website, you're an online coach, but that doesn't mean you have any coaching clients or you're any good or any of those things. And so for that reason, one of the most important things about choosing real estate agents is being extra selective. I mentioned, like, in most niches, 80% of clients aren't worth your money, but in real estate agents, because it's such a low bar to get in, it's more like 95%. So choose the people who spend the money and have teams. Telling you make your life easier. Now, the second piece to that puzzle is remembering they will tell you they need more cold leads, and they're fucking wrong 100 times out of 100. What they need is more help converting those leads. And I always say, like, look for the last 5 or 10 yards on the field, and you'll find tons of hidden opportunities. Brian comes to mind in our mastermind. When he first came to us, he was running Facebook ads, and we figured out tons of real estate agents were running Facebook ads. They could get 300, 400, 500 leads for a house. They didn't know how to talk to those people and qualify them and sort through them. So he created messenger bots that do a lot of the sifting and sorting for them, and it takes the ones who aren't ready to buy a house and puts them on the simmer of the email list, and takes the ones who are ready and forwards them to the real estate agent. So if they get 300 leads in a week, it'll send you the 4 people who are seriously considering buying a house this week, and it'll take the other 296 and put them through automations to simmer them and warm them up slowly over time to the point where they are ready. And that is immensely valuable to real estate agents, right? So think about those opportunities of what's close to the hole. Somebody who just saw an open house, somebody who actually like got qualified for mortgage documents, things like that, right? Look for the opportunities close to the hole. You make your life, or close to the goal line. You make your life so much easier. Vince says, looking for advice. I have a list with 8,000 people where CCA 1,000 are paying clients, low ticket, and CCA 100 high ticket online courses, personal development niche. Here comes the tricky part. This is a list from a client who couldn't pay for my services anymore. I ended up with the list. I know I can't start sending email people due to GDPR. How would you use that list? Very simple, Vet. I would create a custom audience on Facebook and start advertising to those people. You know they are known buyers, people who spend money on the kinds of things that you sell. So load them up into Facebook, start targeting those, and as you get some conversions in there, depending on how many you get, I might create a lookalike audience out of those people. But if you got a list of buyers, load them up in the Facebook machine, start showing your shit to them. It's pretty simple. I hope that helps make that super easy. Paul says, wondering if any of our 2,500 members here are generating leads for home improvement businesses. I get asked to get leads in return for 10% commission on jobs they won. Do you charge pay per lead or commission? Paul, this is important to understand. Pay per lead and commission on closed deals can actually work really, really well. But I'll tell you, the biggest red flag in existence is when the client asks you for it. And usually the client asks you for it because they've been burned a lot in the past and nothing has worked for them, and so they want you to take all the risk. But the reason why it doesn't work for them is often their own fault, meaning they lack sales, they lack systems, they lack processes for closing people. Anybody can offer you 10% of a closed deal, but if they can't close any fucking deals, it's a pretty meaningless number. So the most important thing to look for in a partner is somebody who actually has a systematic sales process to close leads, so that when you plug them into there, they're actually going to close them and pay you. If you focus on the people that are already doing that, and usually those are the contractors who have multiple crews. They often have branded trucks with their logos on it and things. Like, they're more professional. They have collared suits. They got a clipboard. They got a checklist. They got their own proposal document. They have a CRM to follow up with those people. So you're looking for those kind of things if you're going to do 10% with a partner. If they have those, you have my blessing, go for it. If they lack those things, fucking run, because you're going to do work and you're not going to get paid. But if you choose the partners carefully, it actually can be amazing. We have people like, for example, Dan comes to mind in the roofing space. I forget which numbers he gets, but he averages like $12,000 to $15,000 every time his roofer closes a big roofing deal. They usually go after like big commercial roofs, and he's totally on the commission deal. There's no upfront payment. There's no recurring revenue guarantee, but when they close a deal, they write him a big ass check, and they are everything I just described. Multiple crews, branded trucks, have a sales process, have a CRM, professional collared shirts, good reviews on Google, etc., etc., etc. So do that and avoid the rest like the plague, my friend. Ashley says, would anybody be willing to share their qualification questions used to vet potential clients in an automation? So, Ashley, if you're looking to kind of like screen for the right kind of clients, I have found these two traits, as I mentioned earlier, for those of you guys who are just tuning in now, these two things to be the most important things across multiple niches, by the way. And again, I always trust behavior. Let me tell you why I trust behavior. I found that it doesn't matter what niche you're in. If you ask people, do you want to grow? Do you want to make more money? 100 out of 100 of them say yes. But when the rubber meets the road, out of 100, maybe 10 or 20 of them actually do it. And in most businesses, people are just kind of happy, kind of just where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? By the way, but our business model only works if you're trying to grow and expand and sort of up level. And it doesn't work if you just want to kind of maintain and be where you're at. So I remember, as an example of this, okay, I had a lawyer one time. He had been practicing like 25 years in the state of Texas, and he said to me, I'm getting my ass kicked because I do all this referral and word of mouth, but the truth is, like, I'm losing to lawyers who advertise. I'm ready to, like, finally start advertising and play the game for real. So he came to us. We were running Facebook ads. I started turning on the Facebook ads, and after $200, the ad account like froze. I couldn't run any more ads, and I was like, what the hell? I couldn't even figure out what was going on. And I checked all the settings and like couldn't, like, I don't know. I was perplexed. Frankie Fihn had his brain in a big spaghetti meatball kind of one of those things. And after a while, I figured out that the lawyer had spent $200 on, or had set an account limit of $200. And that was it. Now, understand, in the personal injury space in particular, if you run Google ads, $200 is like one fucking click. Like, the clicks in an average big city are probably $150 to $200. So he would have got one click, maybe two, if he's lucky, for $200 in ad spend. And I went back to him and I was like, hey, what's the deal? Like, that sounds very Seinfeld, eh? What is the deal with your ad spend? That's a terrible Seinfeld impression. Anyways, but hey, what's the deal? Like, it froze after $200, and he said to me something along the lines of, hey, like, I came to spend money, but I'm not here to lose money. We spent $200. Like, basically, like, why am I not a millionaire? Where are my clients? Where are my leads? And I'm like, dude, like, we just barely fucking started. Like, $200, like, that's a little drop in the advertising bucket of getting going, right? Like, your main competitor in your area, Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer, I know him personally. He spends $1 million a month just on TV, right? He ain't spending $200 and then getting scared. And what I found was there was no talking that guy into spending more money. Now, if I had looked at his words, he said all the right things. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to advertise. The time is right. I am ready to do this. Those were the words. If I looked at the behavior, $200, oh, I'm scared. I lost $200. I don't want to spend any more money. That's enough for me, right? And I always say trust behavior, not words. So if you want to find the qualification criteria in every niche, these are the two behaviors that will make your life easier. Find people who are spending money now and help show them a better way. And find people who have started to build teams. And I'll tell you why, because it expresses two behaviors that are very important for an agency partnership. One, that they are willing, able to spend money to grow. If you violate this rule, by the way, you will have two sales to make to a client. The first is that you should spend money to grow, and the second is with me or with us, with our agency. And it's sale number one that they will fight you on, that they should spend money to grow. They will fight you tooth and nail on that over and over. And then the second thing is they have teams. Why? Because that means they've reached the level where they now pay people to solve problems on their behalf because they have outgrown that single solo kind of stage. And the thing with single solos, like a lot of people in our world are single solos, so you tend to like think about those as good clients, but they don't share often the same growth mentality that you do, and they will fight you on it, right? And so what you'll find is if they're not used to paying people, like the cost will be a big deal constantly. As where if they're used to paying people, they understand that time is more valuable than money, and so they would much rather just pay money to get back time. And so if you do that, you're going to end up, so if I was going to vet people in an automation, it would be vetting them for, do you spend money? What size team do you got? And that would be it. And I'm telling you, you'll make your life so much easier if you do that, whether you do that through automation or through a conversation or through text, or you do it like we do in a video where we're saying, hey, you must be spending money and you must have a team of this size. But it'll save you a lot of headaches in this game. Travis says, is anyone here in the tourism sector? I was a marketing and advertising consultant for several high-profile tour companies for several years. It was great until COVID wiped out virtually all of my clients. Because I was a consultant, I would usually work with one client at a time at a monthly rate of $30K. My strategies, once implemented, generated well into the multiple millions in revenue year after year. I haven't been in that industry since 2020, and I'm wondering if anyone else is working with tour operators. How well are they doing these days? Video for attention. This particular video we produced for digital ads that played on giant screens inside the Kauai airport. Yes, we have people in the tourism stuff. A lot of the tourism business, just so you know, Travis, did not shut down from 2020 to 2023 in the way people think. Is it a lot of the certain parts of it anyway became like virtual. So like if somebody had a yoga retreat, like obviously nobody was going to that yoga retreat if the country was locked down, but they still were doing like Zoom yoga retreats, right? So part of what I think adding the value for people as a consultant is when shit hits the fan is helping them pivot. I had a couple of lawyers. I have been telling lawyers, by the way, for like 10 fucking years, maybe not that long, I'm exaggerating, probably like 3-4 years, that like you should hire virtual assistants, you should run your business remotely, and they always told me it could not be done because we have the most paperwork intensive business in the world. I would love your business model just to work remotely from home, no traffic, blah, blah, blah. And then March of 2020, shit hit the fan, and they were forced to do that, and a lot of lawyers did, and I got a lot of consulting deals right then. They're like, how do you do this shit? And it was literally the same shit I had been telling them for 5 fucking years. But all of a sudden, the need arose, and therefore it became urgent. And so we actually have an awesome client in this group. Her name is Amelia, and she has an awesome law firm in Michigan. And like they switched over their entire law firm, the most paperwork-intensive business in the entire fucking world, in one single week, and made everybody work remotely. So I don't think travel and tourism is done. I think it's just modified. And then now, obviously, a lot of places are back open, like without all the travel restrictions and all of that. So that to me tells me that if you want it, like there's plenty for you to go for the taking. That's really all I got to say about that. There wasn't really a question per se that I could answer. But there's always opportunity. If you understand opportunities, when one door fucking slams fucking shut in your face, like lockdowns, no more business, it creates a new opportunity. I'll give you one more example of this, okay? Because I am like one of these guys that just, I don't know, I love the game of business. I love watching it. Not even my own shit. I just like seeing how things work. I remember it was March of 2020. We were in Germany. Everything was locked down. All these businesses were closed, and all these businesses were largely hurting, meaning they weren't like cash flowing. They weren't seeing a lot of revenue, all those kind of things. Then I remember I was going for a walk with my little Heidi B, my sweet little angel, and we were walking through the mountain on these windy roads, and a car went by us like, must have been like 60 miles an hour on this tiny little quiet suburban mountain road, and I was like, what the fuck? Like for a second I was like really pissed off, like you almost hit my kid. And I saw on the side of it, it said Lieferung, which is the German word for delivery. It was the food delivery guy, and he was busy as shit driving around orders to everybody who like couldn't go to the restaurant. And so when shit hits the fan and markets rapidly change and like something happens, what most people do is passively accept it. Hey, we're closed, there's nothing we can do. But if you want to, you can. That creates opportunities for those who can pivot on a dime. And the food delivery guy was probably making hand over fist kind of money, and like there was a whole opportunity in that market was created. So that's my point of saying, like, understand opportunities are endless. You just have to be able to see when they shift, and like you have endless chances to be able to create something. You just have to be agile and nimble, and that actually favors people like us who are internet marketers, who have lean businesses. Like our business is digital. Like if I have a website that says, come into my restaurant and eat, and it closes down, I can put up a new website tomorrow that says, we do delivery and catering, we'll come to you, right? Like that's how easy and agile our businesses are, and not everybody has that opportunity. So like, don't look at it like, oh, I got shut down. It's like, just ask yourself, where's the opportunity now? And you'll see it's still there. It just shifted. George says, is it frowned upon to white label SEO campaigns for my own agency? I don't necessarily have the time to do it all myself, but I don't need a marketing assistant yet. Thoughts, George? Your clients are going to grab you. They're going to rake you over the hot coals, and they're going to take one of those branding things to give to the cows, and they're going to say, this guy is scum, and they're going to tattoo scum on your forehead. No, I'm just fucking with you. They don't really care. They don't even know, let alone care. And the idea is really, really simple, is understand that, like, most really well put together businesses are middlemen. Like Amazon is a middleman. Like, for the first 10 years of business, Amazon didn't make or sell shit. They just sourced good products for good prices and put them on their site and built the best delivery system, right? Walmart is the same. Like, we got a Walmart here in La Paz. It's like where all the Americans go to get all the shit they can't find anywhere else in Mexico. And it's like, Walmart don't make shit. Walmart's a big fucking middleman. They find other people's shit, they put them in a big store, and they bring you in, and that's really it, right? So understanding that it's okay to be a middleman. Like, there's a tendency, and I'll tell you where this comes from, at least in my mind. Poor and middle class values. You must work for it. You must earn it. You must grind it out. There's no way in the poor and middle class that you would get paid $20 an hour for a project and hire somebody for $10 an hour to go actually do it for you. But in the entrepreneurial world, in the wealth world, these deals happen all the time where, you know, metaphorically, you get paid $20 an hour and you hire somebody $10 an hour to actually fulfill on it, and you make a difference in the spread. So your value add, by the way, in that arrangement is by finding a good white label partner that can actually get results, that can actually deliver, and that is your contribution to the machine. Hetty says, one question about the new book. How can I generate income from your new book with 0 existing clients utilizing the commission-based model? I'll give you a little bit of a sneak preview for those of you guys who are part of my audience. I think this book is going to be like the best shit I ever created, but I'm a little biased on the subject, so don't take my word for it, but I hope you guys will like it. I hope you guys get it as inspired. But the idea is really simple, is just to give you guys, for those of you guys who didn't see the announcement in the group, I have lived by a mantra for the last 5 or 6 years. Ilka and I created a mantra, and it was very, very simple. Passive, automated, recurring income. Now, let me break that down, because income is the easiest part to understand. People like making money. You guys are here because you're internet marketers who like generating income and helping people and contributing to the world, and, you know, like adding value to people. So we all want the income. But not all income is created equal. Passive means that, to me, it doesn't mean it's always necessarily passive to set up, but once it is in place, there is nothing for you to do. Like, I have some software and tools that I help set up for clients. I still get paid affiliate commissions. We're talking like 7, 8 years later. I haven't done shit in 8 years, and money's still coming in. Hold on, I'm gonna put on my monkey music in. This is aquatic ambiance from Donkey Kong. Just the track is an hour long. Just ran over because I've been talking too much. The second word in there is automated. Automated means you don't got to bill somebody, you don't got to invoice somebody, you don't have to chase it. Like, it is like literally automatic in computer systems, and it shows up in your account without. And then recurring means we are not just setting up recurring deals. Now, the formula in the book is very, very simple, and there are 1,000 ways to spin this principle. Is that there are people in our world who have distribution, meaning they have audiences of people who like them, who watch their shit, who pay attention to them. And when you have distribution, all you have to do is combine it with a recurring offer. If you take those two things and put them together, you will create recurring cash flow that requires you to do nothing. And so I go into more detail in the book, different ways you can spin those principles, but I'll tell you one of the simplest, easiest, most applicable ways is go on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or any of those places that you frequent and find somebody who has an audience of people who watch their shit. There are no shortage of those. I have friends who have like 500,000 YouTube subscribers and don't make a cent from it. They make absolutely zero. So they have half of the equation. They have distribution. They have an audience of people watch their shit and pay attention and do that. And so all you have to do is you go to those people and say, hey, I had an idea to bring you some money for your channel. Would it be cool if I set something up? I'll make you look good, and we split it 50-50. And for the most part, like anybody who asks that to is going to say yes. Like if they're making zero and you say, I want to pay you, I want to give you money for what you've created, they usually say yes. And you can find all kinds of people from anywhere from like 5,000 person audiences to multiple millions that are like making nothing. Then you take a recurring offer. Now I'll tell you, my favorite type of recurring offer is a software or tool that solves a recurring problem for that audience, and so there is a need to keep it ongoing in their life, some sort of subscription-based thing where they need it, and almost all of those subscription-based things have affiliate programs. So I'll tell you how I'm using this right now is I'm finding people who have YouTube channels, big following, and I say I got an idea to make money, and then we just pin a little comment right below the video that's already getting tons of eyeballs and say, if you like the video, you might also like this recurring thing. They click on it, they sign up for the recurring thing. We get recurring revenue, and there is nothing to deliver. There is no client, there's no report, there's no anything. And so you simply combine those things. There are endless ways to spin that, but find people who have eyeballs and attention and audiences and are not monetizing them, and stick in a recurring offer. And you can set up these $500 to $5,000 a month recurring deals, super easy. And it's very simple. Like a lot of times people, when they have distribution, they make no money. And the reason why they make no money is because I'll tell you, there is one metric that correlates to money made more systematically than anything I've ever seen before, and that is offers made. So if a channel has 500,000 people watching it but makes zero offers, I can guarantee they're making zero, maybe a little bit of ad revenue, but zero money. As where if you take a channel that has 1,000 viewers but has made 1,000 offers, I guarantee you that channel is making way more money than the one. So all we're doing is we're taking the attention and the group of people that they've already created that like, know, and trust them, and simply putting offers in front of them, and not just any kind of offer, but recurring offers. And I go into the book, there's other types of recurring offers that you can do. You can take a course and you can introduce financing to it. So like, hey, make 12 payments, and instead of paying $1,000 one time, pay $99 a month for 12 months or whatever. And what happens is you will sell courses to their people, and there will be recurring payments that come in for the next 12 months that you don't have to do shit for. So there are lots of ways to spin this, and I'm going to go into way more detail in the book, but it is those two things. Find distribution, find recurring offers, stick them together. It's like, it's that simple. And so I hope to make that like super simple for you guys to implement, but that's the gist of it. And you don't need clients for that, because like if the deliverable, say, is like a piece of software, like if I was doing this for agency owners, I would offer Go High Level. If they buy Go High Level is doing the delivery, right? There is a deliverable, but it ain't on me to deliver. I'm just like a very sophisticated middleman. And I think this will be really interesting for those of you guys who are quite honestly sick of clients. Sick of like all the having to answer to them and like almost being treated like an employee where like, I got a meeting, tell me why are the numbers what they are? When am I going to be a millionaire from your ad system, and all those kind of questions. You don't need to answer any of those, right? Because when you help somebody set up a recurring deal, they just say thank you and you send them a check every month, you know, their portion of it, and that's it, right? So I hope that's helpful, Hetty, because we're gonna go deeper into that, but that is, it is a model that does not require clients at all. Especially, like I said, a lot of times people struggle with outreach. They struggle with outreach because they're trying to sell their thing, and they're basically saying, buy my shit. If you say, hey, I want to pay you for what you have created, and I have an idea to do that, are you open to trying something? That, hey, I want to pay you emails get answered all the time. And I tell you, people do this very easy and intuitively when you're on like a Facebook marketplace or a Craigslist, and you're not trying to sell stuff, but when you're trying to buy stuff. Like if I don't know, we were looking for like an example. We got a new van, and in the middle of the van, we wanted a middle seat in the second row. Well, you can buy those as like an add-on, and it's like $300. But I thought maybe I'll check for one used on Facebook Marketplace. I do not struggle with messaging somebody when I'm trying to buy something, right? Like most of you guys don't struggle when you're trying to buy something. Like, hey, do you got the seat? How much is it? Would it fit my van? Are you open to let me come over and try it out? How much is it? Like those things, they're super, super easy, right? So when you show up as the I'm trying to give you money person, the outreach, the messaging, all of that is so much easier. And so that's why this model is easier, because you're not showing up as I'm trying to sell you. You're showing up as like, I got a fistful of cash and I would like to give it to you. Or I have an idea that would like to give you a fistful of cash. You don't have to pay me. I want to pay you. Are you open to it, right? Like that's easy outreach. Demetra says, how about white label work? Not really client-facing, but you still keep a retainer model. Yes, you can absolutely do that. But man, we're doing that in our 90-day challenge. I've been a little slow on that, to be honest, because I've been kind of like working some other things. But I plan on picking that up in probably about 30 days, because I have some conferences and stuff I'm speaking at. But we just get the clients, and then we send them over to Lane Trains, Lane Hooks, Quantum Agency, and they do the fulfillment. And that's really it. Like, it's a retainer model, but we ain't delivering it. I'm keeping the margins at about 50%. So, like, say Lane charges $1,000, I'm billing it out at $2,000. We keep $1,000 in the middle, and that's basically it. So, like, absolutely that can work. But having said that, the biggest amount of money you're going to make is not from retainer stuff. I found that every now and then, if you have 10 retainer clients, 20 retainer clients, one of them you will like legitimately blow up their business, and you'll make them $3, $4, or $5 million with like a #1 SEO ranking, and you'll wonder, like, why didn't I ask for 10% or 20% or something like that? But you can do that on these kind of like revenue share deals, where you can create that for yourself, and when it really blows up, like, you really, 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 really get paid. But like I said, I'm going to go into it in the book, but the most common example is, you set up little $500 a month to $5,000 a month recurring revenue that you don't have to do anything for. Last question of the day, unless any of you guys want to ask something else. I got Shelly here who says, what are your thoughts on owners not wanting to spend money on their Facebook ads, but instead use personal account to post for free on Facebook Marketplace? This is in the landscaping niche, but have had salons and groomers do this as well to save money. Just comes across as unprofessional. They're lumping themselves in with unlicensed and unprofessional contractors, which is not helping their brand image. Am I wrong? Shelly, I'll tell you where you are wrong, since you asked the question, am I wrong? In my opinion, of course, and not necessarily like wrong, like as in right and wrong, but in terms of just like making your experience difficult. And that is, you are trying to, remember I mentioned before, one of the two criteria when I trust behavior, not words, to look for clients is I look for people who are actively spending money now. If you break that rule, which by the way, if you talk to 10 people in any industry, 8 of them will never spend money on advertising, ever. Not in any serious, like, consistent way. And so for that reason, they don't make for good clients. But what happens is, if you try and sell those people, those 8 out of 10 people, you will have 2 sales to make. Sale number 1, you should spend money on your business to grow it. Sale number 2, with me. And they will fight you tooth and nail, and not on the with me part. They will fight you on the first part, that I should spend money when I could post an ad for free on the Facebook Marketplace, right? And I'm not saying don't do that. That's a viable strategy, but if they're not going to spend money and you're trying to convince them, that's why I say, don't convince people to spend money on ads. Work with people who already are and convince them that you have a better way and that they should allocate a portion of that money towards you to show them that better, what I call the simpler, superior plan. But do not convince people, do not convince businesses that do not spend money to try and spend money, because they will fight you again and again and again, and you'll feel like you're banging your head against the wall, which is, you ask the question, am I wrong? That is what's happening there in your experience, is like, you're trying to convince people who don't spend money too, and they're just going to fight you on it, and they're going to fight you on it. They will always fight you on it, because it's just not in their makeup, right? Like, they know they have to promote their businesses, but they're looking for the cheapest way to do it. And of course, like you said, it gets lumped in with unprofessional contractors. That's very different, though, than if you find a contractor who's already spending $50K a month and say, hey, like, if you take $10K and give it towards me, I'm going to show you a way better result using TikTok ads or YouTube ads than whatever you're currently using. Paul says, which niches are actively spending the most right now, roughly? That's probably a Google question, to be honest, Paul. I don't know the answer to that. But I always say it doesn't matter the niche. There's like a spectrum in every niche. If there's a niche at all, somebody's making money in it, right? Like, a niche wouldn't exist if there's nobody making money in it. In every niche, there's like 80% of people at the bottom that are usually struggling the most, and usually, like, I would say, like, $150,000 a year or less, and especially if you consider that they have overhead and things like that, that's not a lot of money take home. 80% of every industry is like that. Then there's like a 10 to 15% who are like doing well, and there's always like a top 5%, and within that there's like 1 or 2% who are crushing it. So like I use a lot of legal examples just because I'm really familiar with it. But there are brand new lawyers that are broke, that ain't got no clients, and that are just starting out. And hey, like we all start somewhere, so like that's not a knock against them. It's just saying like don't choose those people as clients. There are also lawyers like Morgan & Morgan, by the way, spends $25 million per year on TV advertising alone, and that's not the only advertising they're doing. They're doing about 20 different other advertising ventures, including pay-per-click and SEO and you name it, all these other things. But $25 million per year just on the TV ads. Okay, so what most people don't understand is that like if they don't look at the spectrum within the industry, they think I need to get a lawyer or a dentist or a plumber or an e-commerce store or an online coach as a client, and they don't understand that the struggling lawyer, brand new, getting started, who doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together, is a very, 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 very different kind of client than landing Morgan & Morgan, who's like got 25 million just to drop on TV. And because people treat the whole niche as if they're equal, and they're not, they go after people like this. I was actually talking to Josh Nelson about this principle just in private, and he was saying that in the plumbing and HVAC industry, there's something like 2.5 million plumbers in the United States, and he figured out that they're only after the plumbers who are spending money on ads, who are doing at least $1 million a year and have at least 3 trucks on the road. And he said, when he looked at that, there were about 30,000 people who fit that description. So even though there's 2.5 million plumbers, because they're aiming at the top segment of the market, the people who are best optimized to be able to use their service, they're only aiming at 30,000 people. And when you understand that, what happens is your advertising gets better because now you're not trying to reach 2.5 million plumbers. You're trying to reach the 30,000 who got all the money. It costs way less money to reach 30,000 plumbers than it does to reach 2.5 million. And you can do more frequency, and you can do more media, and you can spend more money on it. You don't even have to spend a lot of money to reach 30,000 plumbers. Like an audience that size, like if you uploaded them as a custom audience to Facebook, like you could probably spend like $3 a day and fucking hit all of them over and over and over and over and over and over, right? So when you understand that, the goal is not to find niches that are spending money. It's to find the people within the niche that are spending the money. And I've helped so many people, Paul, just on that question, to up-level their agency game just by changing who they aim it at. So like Lana comes to mind when she first came to me. She was going after yoga studios, and she said, all the yoga studio owners are broke. Now, I know from my experience that if every yoga studio owner was truly broke, there would not be a yoga niche. There would not be a yoga industry. And so I know that just by experience, there's a lot of yoga teachers that start a weekend class. It's kind of like a hobby business. They have 2-3 sessions a week, and they're trying to fill those up. And those are cool people, but they don't make for good agency clients. And I also know from experience, there's yoga studios that got 75 fucking locations in a franchise, and they're desperately trying to fill 15 locations because those ones are lagging and weighing down their numbers across the whole thing. And so all things being equal, it's not about like which industry has the money. It's about aiming for the people within the industry, say in yoga, aiming for the 75 location yoga studio and not for the broke, struggling. If you understand that, as long as there's a niche, there's money. As long as there's people spending in that niche, it's viable. And as long as you understand that, as long as you can figure out who's spending the money. And the thing about it is finding out who spends the money, it leaves a trail. Like, how can Morgan & Morgan possibly spend $25 million a year on TV and you not see a fucking TV commercial or a billboard, right? Like this is publicly available information. I can go right now. One of the easiest ways to find out who's spending money, go to Google and search my niche, whatever city, and you'll see who's spending money on Google ads. And you're like, how do I know they have money to spend? Because they're doing it right now. Exactly. So, but as long as there's a niche, as long as people are spending money in that niche, then there are people going to be crushing it, and there's going to be a lot of people struggling it. Aim for this is a thing that took me a lot of years, and I'll tell you, like, where I see a lot of people struggle is we think about our marketing businesses as if we're going to save businesses. Like, I'm going to turn around a struggling businesses. And there's a lot of like hero TV shows that they show the guy who goes in, like there's the bar rescue. He goes in and rescues the struggling bar. I've watched a lot of Kitchen Nightmares. Gordon Ramsay goes into a struggling restaurant and he turns it around. He gives them their menu and their teams and their systems. What's interestingly enough, when Gordon Ramsay goes into a struggling restaurant and he fixes the menu and does that, you know what the failure rates of those businesses are after he leaves? This is mind-blowing. And Demetrius mentioned John Taffer. I bet it's the same for him. This is mind-blowing. Businesses that were struggling, they bring in the #1 restaurant chef in the entire fucking world, and their failure rates are still 95%. So if Gordon Ramsay fixes up 20 restaurants, in 1 year from now, 19 of them will be out of business. And that's to show you that we do not turn losers into winners. You do not save businesses. It took me a lot of years to understand. You take bigger businesses that are already winning and would win without you, and you help winners win more, and you help winners win faster, and you help winners win better, and you help winners win easier, and you help winners win with less mistakes. But you don't turn losers into winners. You help winners win more. It took me so many years to really understand that. You're not here to save people. You're here to take the people who would win without you and to help them do it easier, faster, better, with less mistakes. If you take that principle, then niche selection is so much easier than most people make it, because they try and look for some secret place that's got all the money, and instead just go into some plain Jane thing, find a problem that hasn't been solved, figure out who spends all the money, and go solve it for those people, and you'll get paid for it. Like, it's really not as complicated as people make it, but a lot of it is we just don't internally recognize that not every client is created equal. And like I said, 80% of clients in every niche you wouldn't fucking want if somebody gave them to you. Like if somebody right now said, I get it now, or somebody says, hey, I know a guy in a personal injury space, blah, 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 he's broken, he's struggling, and he wants somebody to be his Hail Mary and save him, I turn that shit away. I don't want him. Like, you give him to me. I know he's got money in hand, but I know it's going to create misery and problems and tarnish our reputation and things like that. As where if somebody says, hey, we're spending all this money on TV, but we think if we spent $20,000 a month on Facebook ads, we'd get a better return, and we want to consult with you, that's a call I take, right? Because that's like hey, we're spending money, we're growing, we're doing the things, we're winning on our own, but we think you can help us win better, easier, faster, with less mistakes. So if you learn to do that, every niche will be viable, and that's the secret. It's like every niche is viable, but like everybody's looking for the super secret niche that has all the money, and the truth is, like, every niche is viable as long as you're aiming for the right segment of people, and it's the top 5 or 10% of the market. It's the top 5% of every niche that you actually want to help, and if you understand that, you help winners win more. And a lot of times, I used to look at this like I would look at like the first time I got hired as a consultant. I got hired as a consultant for a $100 million per year Florida law firm, 2 brothers that are like the tops in one of the major cities there. And when they brought me in, I remember thinking, like, I haven't been anywhere fucking close to $100 million. Like, what the fuck am I going to tell these guys? And I thought, they're making $100 million. They already know everything about business. They know how to grow and blah, blah, blah. And then you get into it, and if anybody's ever worked for what Dan Kennedy calls a big dumb company, there's meetings, there's bureaucracy, Dave only got promoted because he goes golfing with Chuck on the weekends. Did you know that? There's like office politics and there's drama and like it's slow to move. And then you get in there and you realize that at $100 million, they have more problems, not less. Let me say that again, more problems, not less. Just the amount of shit they have to manage has 10x. They're running TV ads. They have to figure out where to buy media. There's 40 different fucking TV stations they got to buy media from. They got to figure out creatives. They got to figure out how to record them. They got to figure out jingles, licensing, phone numbers, and that's just TV. And then they're also doing billboards and radio ads and SEO and pay-per-click, and they're doing Facebook ads and Instagram and TikTok, right? Like, they need more help, not less. More help, not less. And so if you understand that, you actually go into those places understanding they have bigger problems. Like, again, like I used to think they're making $100 million, they got it all figured out. Now I look at it, they're making $100 million, they got $100 million worth of problems that they need help with. And if you do that, you'll help bigger players make more money, and in the process help your company make more money, and a whole lot easier. They're way easier to help, because like if companies doing $100 million a year and you help them shift their phone answering process, and it results in a 1% improvement in conversions, they make an extra $1 million. 1% of 100 million is 101 million. They went up $1 million because of your little change. Try doing that for a broke lawyer who's starting out, to make one little change and have it create a cascade of $1 million, right? So that's the beautiful thing about doing this for like bigger, more successful, already winning without you clients, is that those little shifts add up, and therefore you can justify big fees, and your shit works longer, and they refer you. That's the crazy thing. It's like, I remember after I got hired to do that $100 million thing, I didn't hear from them for 6 months, and then I came back and said, how did it go? They said, oh, we already implemented this, we did that, we hired this person, and I forgot to mention, but we referred you to 2 other people, so you'll be getting some consulting calls down the road. And it was super easy to deliver, because helping the winners win more. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not about like finding the secret niche. It's about helping the right people within the industry. So that's all I got as far as questions. Just for those of you guys, it's been an hour and 20 minutes, but we've missed a few of these Q&As, so I knew I'd go a long time. But for those of you guys who missed the intro, a couple little announcements. We are having a live event in Mexico. It's going to be 50%, just bitching, awesome, good time, 50%. Like, let's grow your business, blow some shit up, make you some monies. At my house in Mexico, it is March 22nd to 24th. I'm a dumbass and originally said 29th, 31st, and then realized, as somebody messaged me, said I can't come because it's Easter, like that's a stupid time to have it. So we're going to do it the weekend before. And if you guys are interested, just let me know. I put together the details in a Google Doc. If you're interested, I will send you the Google Doc, and you can check out the details, see if it works for you, price and flights, all that kind of good stuff. Love to see you guys in person. I'm planning on keeping it small and intimate because we're gonna have like super awesome good time. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I have something like really super cool planned for Saturday, like a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And then of course you get to hang with me and other really smart agency owners. Actually, last time the best value in the whole thing didn't come from me. It came from like people just having conversations with each other, sharing what was working. That's one thing. Second thing I wanted to mention. The Wolf Pack is like just getting better. What I've been focused on the last 2-3 years is to make one-to-many prospecting stupid simple, so you can like send one message, be able to broadcast your stuff in front of thousands of people, get people to come to you, and then when they say I'm interested, just send them a video, and that's it. Like, it's super easy. It's the opposite of chase. It's the opposite of hustle and grind. It's the opposite of what everybody else does. Part of the reason I've done it, just candidly with you guys, I got 3 kids. I love hanging with my 3 kids. I want my life to be about hanging with them, not about being on sales calls trying to convince people to do that. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but this is about energy efficiency. So if you guys are like at the point where you're sick of chasing, you're sick of hustling, you're sick of like doing all that shit, and you want people just to come to you, pre-sold, watch your video, say, I'm in, here's my money, what do I do now? Check out the Wolf Pack. It's super easy, super affordable. For most of you guys, you just need 1 client to get started. And then there was a third thing I wanted to tell you guys about. Oh yeah, I'm working on book 2, and you guys are going to be the first ones to get that. It is about the magic of passive, automated, recurring income, which started for me 6 years ago as a mantra. I had exactly 0 of it. I'm happy to report one of the things that's changed in my life as a result of creating passive, automated, recurring income is pretty much, I wouldn't say every day is payday, but like 90% of days are payday. Like, I get paid most days. Like, something recurring drops in even before I get started, even before I get to work. Usually anywhere from like a couple $100 to like 10 grand. You know, they vary across the spectrum, but almost every day is a payday. Like, it's very rare that I have a day that's not a payday. There's less non-paying days, and I'll tell you, nothing will make your financial life easier than having that in place, because when you know you have recurring stuff long into the future, you just worry less. Like, I spend a lot less time worried about how I'm going to make bills and pay for shit, because I'm like, oh, I know I have this coming on Thursday and that on Friday, and I believe that's on Saturday, and on Monday we got 2 more, and on Tuesday we got this. And because of that, like, just gets easier, and you get to forecast. This is the biggest reason, by the way, why people have jobs. Jobs fucking suck, but people keep jobs because jobs pay you regularly on the same time, right? So when you build those recurring incomes, you get all the benefit of a job, but without working for the man, without all the bullshit, without all the traffic and alarm clocks, and you got to be here 8 hours. I don't know about you guys, but I would always spend the last hour of my job just looking at the clock, like, when is it time to get the fuck out of here? When is it time to get the fuck out of here? When is it to you're pretending to look busy, so you just get the fuck out of here, just get the fuck out of here. And you don't need to do that when you have passive, automated, recurring income. You just, like, before you even work, shit comes in, and it's very, very relieving. So I'm gonna You guys are going to be the first to get that. If you want to pay for it, you can get like a physical copy on Amazon. I'm a book guy, so I'll probably have like physical copies laying around. But I'm going to give you guys the PDF, ebook, and the Amazon Kindle. Amazon Kindle lets me give it away for like 5 days. I can't do any more than that. But you guys will get a free version of that. I will just ask if you get it on Kindle to drop me a review if you like it. But you guys will find out about that. And it's super easy to set up little $500 a month to $5,000 a month recurring deals that you don't have to do shit for. And what I'm most excited about for you guys is like, it does not require having a client. Let me say that again. It does not require delivering anything. It does not require fulfilling on anything. It does not require meetings about anything. It does not require reporting on anything. So once you set it up and it is in place, it will be there and run in the background for you. It's like the money machine that keeps printing for you in the background. And so I'm stoked for what you guys build for that. And I think it is the next evolution of a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, because I know you guys, like, you do care about clients. Yeah, but you know, like the big appeal of this business, in my opinion, is the high ticket recurring income, and you can get all the benefits of the high ticket recurring income without all the craziness, madness of the client. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So check out those 3 things. If you're interested in Mexico, I will send you a Google Doc. Just shoot me a message with the details. If you're interested in the Wolfpack, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com and then click on the old Wolfpack button. We got a video that will walk you through it, and then keep your eyes peeled for the book. I have no idea when I'll be finished on the book. I'm working at it. When it's done, it's done, and you guys will be the first to find out about it. But I had to tell you guys because I'm excited, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am. So that's all I got for you guys. Happy Monday. This was a super long one, but I missed a few weeks, and there are a lot of questions to catch up on. So much love. May the force be with you. Appreciate you guys.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Fihn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews. And it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.